Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the Supreme Court, and loony lefties have never been bigger matter. NXIVM sex slaver Kieth Raniere gets 120 years to play a little jailhouse role reversal. And the Hunter Biden rabbit hole goes so deep you could reach China. Also, support for Donald Trump has gotten so loud that MAGA chants are now drowning out the pin drops at Biden rallies. All this and more, but first...
Let me tell them who I am! Well, I came, I'm a man, 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
There's nothing that makes the sweet taste of victory even better than the salty tears of the left. And so, with Amy Coney Barrett being nominated, and or confirmed, I mean, and on Hillary Clinton's birthday, it was kind of a gift to all of America, I think. You know, we got to share in Hillary Clinton's birthday gift from America. So, Amy Coney Barrett is now a Supreme Court justice. I am very happy about that. I am very happy that the Republicans actually had spine enough and did not back down to all of the threats and all of the hand-wringing and all of the whining from the Democrats, because they lost and we won, and it has been so rare in my lifetime that I've been able to say that with Republicans. I guess we've been getting used to it with Donald Trump. I mean, he was right. We do, no, actually he wasn't right, because I'm not sick of winning one bit. I'm not in the least bit sick of winning. So... we have this from the Daily Wire. Democrats explode over Barrett confirmation, make threats, and push for court packing. Because, of course they do. Because for decades before Trump, we just let the left walk all over us. We just let the Democrats walk all over us. And then when they finally get stood up to, they have no idea how to deal with it. And it is rather glorious. Will I say that it was worth all the years of backtracking and being on our heels? Absolutely not, because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be so far back, or we wouldn't be so far left as a culture as we've gotten. But let's go ahead and continue here. So, top members of the Democrat Party erupted on Monday night in response to a majority of U.S. senators voting to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the nation's highest court, and threatened to pack the courts for partisan purposes, because of course they do. Democrats Ilhan Omar and Ocasio-Cortez both immediately called for packing the courts. I mean, how many times am I going to be able to say, because of course they do, when it comes to not only the Democrats, but the very predictable Ilhan Omar and Ocasio-Cortez, who, they don't even really need to talk. You just have to point a camera at them, and it's like, okay, 2 seconds, we know what they're going to say, we got it, move on. That is them in a nutshell. So... expand the court, Omar replied. Omar, who apparently does not understand how U.S. elections work, continued. Remember that Republicans have lost 6 of the last 7 popular votes, but have appointed 6 of the last 9 justices. By expanding the court, we fix the broken system and have the court better represent the values of the American people. Yet, she clearly does not understand how our government works, because we are not supposed to be a direct democracy. In fact, our founders were terrified of the thought of a direct democracy, because that means that the areas that have the most population get to rule over all of the small states. I mean, imagine if California, Illinois, and New York got all the say over places like Wyoming and Montana. What reason would Wyoming and Montana have to be a part of the Union? Why would they be part of the United States if they had no control over how their government works? That's why we have a representative democracy. And when it comes to representation, we have a more democratic representation in the House of Representatives. But then in the Senate, each state gets 2 people. It gets 2 senators. 2 people sent to federally represent them, where they all have equal power. So it's a pretty clever balance of how you having the 2 houses, and how you have one that is represented by population and the other that is represented by state. It does give increased power to places like Wyoming and Montana, but really, how much power do states like that actually have when they have such small populations? It's a balancing act. But we have to make sure that we don't simply have a majority ruling over a minority. That's an idea that you would think that the left would understand. They seem to understand it perfectly when it comes to race relations, but they don't seem to understand it at all when it comes to power structures between states within the Union. So, recent polling has found that the majority of Americans supported confirming Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, with support for her confirmation increasing as the public saw more of her. Yeah, it's because she was a very, very likable person. I mean, she was a total sweetheart. Now, conversely, only 28% of the public opposed her confirmation, and only 27% support Democrats' extremist proposal of partisan packing the court. Partisan court packing, sorry. I was getting too far ahead of myself. I couldn't read anymore. So, 28% and 27%. It almost seems like there is probably a little bit of overlap between the just over 1/4 of Americans who didn't want her confirmed, and the roughly over 1/4 of Americans that want revenge for it. And so when we have Ilhan Omar talking about, by expanding the court, we fix this broken system and have better represent the values of the American people. Well, it seems like confirming Amy Coney Barrett did represent the values of the American people by about a 3/4 clip, just under. So she really does not seem to understand. But when it comes to the left, it really isn't about making good faith arguments. It never really is about actually doing the right thing or representing the people. It's all about how do you concentrate power and then squash anybody that stands in your way. That is what the Democrats are really all about. So we've already read what Ilhan Omar said, and Ocasio-Cortez continued, Republicans do this because they don't believe Dems have the stones to play hardball like they do, and for a long time they've been correct. But do not listen to them bully the public into thinking that their bulldozing is normal, but a response isn't. Oh my God. I didn't catch that the first time I read this article. I missed that part where she said, do not let them bully into thinking that their bulldozing is normal, but a response isn't. Because the American people have been, or the American right, the conservatives, the Republicans, have been waiting for decades for this to actually happen, where the Democrat bulldozing is actually met with a response. And I got more on that in just a minute, and we're going to get to another article here coming up in just a minute where I'm going to expand on that idea. So there is a legal process for expansion. Sure, there's a legal process, but it doesn't change the fact that you're still changing the rules because you can't win by the regular rules. You can't win by the rules that we've been running on for decades now, because you actually have a Republican base that's standing up to you for the first time ever. And then when they do, you accuse them of being the ones that have been bulldozing for decades. Again, I repeat myself. How do you think American culture has gotten so far left? Do you think it's because conservatives have had a spine since the 1960s? Hell no. Hell no. They've just kowtowed and played on their heels for the entire past several decades. And now you're finally getting your comeuppance. This is the response. But of course, the left always gets everything ass backwards. So Ocasio-Cortez's suggestion was quickly debunked by a range of pundits. So I think they're going to back up my sentiments here pretty precisely. So, exactly wrong. Republicans have finally played a bit of dim-style hardball after decades of one-sided escalations. You're now demanding the most radical and unpopular one to date. I don't know if it's the most radical and unpopular one to date. They pushed a lot of pretty radical and unpopular ideas, but yeah, packing the court certainly is up there, and we can see by the disapproval rate for packing the courts being at 73%? Yeah, 73%. I don't think you're going to get away with that. And I don't think you're going to get away with the notion that what we did, what the Republicans did was radical or anything like that. So Matt Walsh says, of all the inane bullshit and constantly streams... of all the inane bullshit that constantly streams from the blabbering mouths of lying Democrat shills like AOC, perhaps the most inane is the claim that Republicans always play hardball while Democrats meekly comply. The literal exact opposite is the case. Yes, and this is why Republicans love Trump, because he has actually reminded all the Republican men that, hey, you got a pair. use them. Because honestly, that's how we get the Rick Wilsons of the world. That's how we get the Lincoln Project, is all of those that were so comfortably castrated that they cannot possibly see a future where conservatives actually, conserve anything. It's really funny. It's really funny how they don't seem to understand everything, and the second they lose, it's just screeching, screeching, screeching. But, just let me lap up those salty tears. Hold on, I think I have some salty tears in here. I'm doing the Donald Trump two. I'm not wearing a silk tie, but I'm still doing the two-handed cup drink. All right. So Alexandra DeSantis says, yes, playing hardball and bulldozing by Squints. Check notes. Confirming and swearing in a justice nominated by the duly elected president of the United States. Yes, by following the constitutional procedures, we have done damage to this country. God, give me a break. And, of course, Ben Shapiro here says, the funniest part of this tweet is that Democrats were the first to destroy judicial candidates for mere interpretational disagreement, the first to use the filibuster against judges, and the first to nuke the filibuster against judges. But she thinks Republicans started it. Exactly, because... And I've got so much that I want to say to that, but it's going to be 2 articles from now. First, I just want to indulge you guys in all of the salt pouring out of the teared up eyes of these lefties. And so for that, we take you to, don't worry guys, we're going into a lefty den here, but Vogue. we have our shields and armor though, don't worry. We have the shield of laughter to help us through these lefty publications. So Twitter had plenty of thoughts about Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court confirmation. Oh, I'm sure they did. So Elisa, who I don't know who this is. I'm not going to know who any of these blue check marks are because why would I and why do I care? They live in an echo chamber and those echoes hurt my ears. So, so this happened. Senator Whitehouse followed up in writing with Amy Coney Barrett and asked whether the Constitution allows for abortion to be a crime punishable by death, and she declined to answer. I don't think Amy Coney Barrett is going to be giving people the death penalty. Now, the question is, if you make abortion illegal, which we should, and a doctor performs an abortion, should that fall under capital punishment because that is murder? That, I think, is probably... I'm just going to go out on a limb and maybe make an assumption that might have been one of the questions flowing through Amy Coney Barrett's mind and why she wasn't going to answer that question so succinctly. Because, of course, Elisa here wants you to think that she's thought that it's all about the women. The women are the only one involved in the abortion. There isn't some doctor sitting there ripping your baby's limbs apart out and pulling them out of the womb with tongs and forceps. So, that actually makes sense why she wouldn't answer that, because it is a complicated question, more complicated than she realizes. But, of course, we're sitting here expecting the left to understand nuance and complicated rational thought processes, which might be asking too much of them. So, Jeff Merkley here says, RGB, it's her right to decide. Amy Coney Barrett, I can't pre-commit. Make no mistake, the right to a safe and legal abortion is in danger. He might be right about that, but guess what? A lot of us are okay with that. So, Tiny Bodega Pumpkin says, don't make me tap the sign. Abortion funds, practical support, and transportation groups already exist, likely in your backyard. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. And please, for the love of God, do not call it an underground road. I don't even understand this. I don't get that one. Maybe I'm a dum-dum right now. If anybody understands what the hell that means, go ahead and drop it in the comment section. Let me know. And yeah, because I'm not following that one. I'm not picking up what she's putting down. So Small Crimes here says, okay, so Sharon Paul here says, get your IUDs renewal and fill your BC birth control prescription. Stock up on Plan B if necessary. If you're under 160 pounds, what? I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. So she says, counterpoint. Don't get an IUD without seriously thinking it through, especially if you're going to lose health care and it may be difficult getting it removed. And don't hoard emergency contraceptive, especially if you're already on birth control, as you're contributing to a shortage. Gotta love that collectivist mentality. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. It's, you know, first comes the birth control rationing with the lefties. Just wait till they get the power, though. Then, food rationing. That's gonna be next. So, Franklin Leonard says, fiction on every front. Two of those senators... Oh, hold on. So Marco Rubio. He's replying to Marco Rubio. So I got to read the reply first. Or the original tweet first. Last night, 52 legitimately elected U.S. senators cast 52 legitimate votes to confirm a legitimately elected president's highly qualified nominee to the Supreme Court for the United States. Normally, I don't like Marco Rubio, but I'll give him 2 thumbs up on that tweet. And Franklin Leonard says, fiction on every front. 2 of those senators were appointed, Loeffler and McSally. Yeah, well, they were appointed after replacing people who were legitimately elected. So, you know, I'll give you a half point on that one. Trump was not legitimately elected. He absolutely was. You get 0 points for that one. Amy Coney Barrett is not highly qualified. Yeah, I seem to remember her sitting there responding very poignantly to all of their pointed questions. And when they asked her, what notes are you reading from, she held up a blank piece of paper. The woman seems to know the Constitution like the back of her hand, as well as case study. So, not highly qualified. I think she proved you wrong on that one. So, Moneybag Glow says, so wait, Amy Coney Barrett is being added to the Supreme Court despite never having been an actual judge? She has never tried a case? Wait, what? Don't attorneys try cases? Judges oversee cases, but yes, she sat on a district. She was a district judge for the past several years. So I don't know what she's talking about, but she says, girl, if you don't apply for that job with no experience, because clearly, well, Moneybag Glow, girl, if you don't know how to syntax your sentences, maybe don't tweet them out. So, from Joshua Potash, after confirming Barrett, McConnell adjourned the Senate until 11/9 with no COVID relief. That's because they've been trying to pass COVID relief, but what's her name? Nancy Pelosi, down in the House of Representatives, will not get on board with anything that the Senate approves of. In fact, we've even had CNN call out both Wolf Blitzer and James Tapper calling out Nancy Pelosi for not getting a deal done and just playing partisan politics on it because she thinks that getting a deal done will help President Trump. So, oh, another COVID one. They approved Amy Coney Barrett, but not COVID relief. Fire them. Look to your own party for that one. Again, see Nancy Pelosi. So, all right, we get the point here. Okay. So, this quickie confirmation of I don't even want to say her name. Oh, okay, I got it. He doesn't want to say Amy Coney Barrett's name. You should probably use the little dashes there, hyphens. Sorry, you should hyphenate that so we can actually read it and understand what you're saying without having to reread it. This quickie confirmation of I don't even want to say her name is an absolutely horrifying and wildly hypocritical disgrace from a party that couldn't possibly sink lower. I am scared. We are so sorry, RGB. Yes, Ben Platt, you are sorry. You're a sorry excuse for a man. You're so scared because Amy Coney Barrett got confirmed to the Supreme Court. Oh, man. So Lisa Lucas here says, I hope RGB has haunting powers. Yeah, well, you go have yourself a little seance here, and you see how that works out for you, Lisa Lucas. So, anyways, I just had to go through because the left is just going nuts over this. But the funniest might be Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer has gone, well, I don't want to say Chuck Schumer has gone unhinged because he's essentially been unhinged for a while now. But this is hilarious. Chuck Schumer vows GOP will regret Barrett confirmation. Democrats plan retaliation. I seem to remember in 2013 when Mitch McConnell told you, Chuck Schumer, that you will regret blowing up, giving the nuclear option to the filibuster and requiring only a simple majority to confirm a court nomination. I seem to remember that. So what you're telling them is that Chuck Schumer is going to make Republicans regret making him regret what he did in 2013. I guess it was Harry Reid back then, I think, wasn't it? I don't know. It all blurs together at this point. But yeah, so that's what this headline should read. Chuck Schumer vows that GOP will regret making him regret making Democrats regret what Democrats did in 2013. I love it. I love it. So, after Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed to the Supreme Court on Monday evening, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer warned Republicans that they will live to regret this. Yeah, I mean, look, we've regretted that we have to share this country with you guys long enough, and I regret that we have let you push us over for so long that at this point, they're just trying to intimidate us into backing down again. It's same old Democrat strategies. So stand up, Republicans, puff your chest out, and stamp your foot, because no more of this shit from Democrats. So the Republican majority is lighting its credibility on fire. With who? With Democrats? The next time the American people give Democrats a majority in the chamber, you will have forfeited the right to tell us how to run that majority. Shoot. Oh, so what he's essentially doing there is setting up them being able to just run roughshod and change all the rules again. Because changing the rules first time came to bite them in the ass, so now that means they have to change more rules to unbite themselves, or to unbite their asses. So let's hope the American people don't give them any kind of majority anytime in the near future. Let's hope that by the time the Democrats ever get a majority again, if ever, that they are so demoralized by the beatdown from not Republicans, just the American people never voting them into power, that they understand that they are the ones that went too far in trying to control everything by changing the damn rules. So my colleagues may regret this for a lot longer than they think, he added. Here at this late hour, at the end of this sordid chapter in the history of the Senate. Listen to the language. The history of the Supreme Court. My deepest and greatest sadness is for the American people. You talking about the 73% of them that wanted you to go ahead and confirm her? I think your greatest sadness is for your own power. Because we already saw the American people were all in for nominating and confirming Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And they're also not in for packing the Supreme Court, which is what you're likely going to try to push to do. And that's when you don't want to hear the criticism of when you have a majority, what you do with it. So Schumer continued, generations yet unborn will suffer the consequences of this nomination as the globe gets warmer, as workers continue to fall behind. Yeah, because Democrats have been selling out jobs to China. I guess Republicans too, but primarily Democrats, we're looking at you, Sleepy Joe, have been selling out jobs to China and our manufacturing base for decades now. And then we got Trump coming in and trying to reverse that. So as workers continue to fall behind, as unlimited dark money pours in our politics, I think a lot of that's actually going to Democrats, though. As reactionary state legislatures curtail women's right to choose. That's their right. That's called states' rights. If you don't want to have abortion in your state, you don't have it. Gerrymandered districts and limit the rights of minorities to vote. Who's limited the rights of minorities to vote? Name the piece of legislation or the acts that have done that. My deepest, greatest, and most abiding sadness tonight is for the American people and what this nomination will mean for their lives, their freedoms, and their fundamental rights. Killing your baby ain't a fundamental right, and that's the only real legitimate fear that they have with Amy Coney Barrett, is that it might end up reversing Roe vs. Wade, which was an awful, awful ruling in the first place. If you read it, it was nothing short of blatant judicial activism. It has no constitutional grounds for that decision. So Schumer later took to Twitter to complain. Of course, because that's all the Democrats can do anymore is complain. It's all orange man bad. They present nothing to the American people that they can actually work with. So today will go down as one of the darkest days in the Senate's 231-year history. Really? Really? Show a little respect to Amy Coney Barrett, will ya? I get it. You disagree with her judicial philosophy, but that doesn't mean you have to say that her confirmation is going to go down as one of the darkest days in the Senate's 231-year history. I think the darkest day might have... Those days came in around 1913, when we had the passing of income tax and the passing, the passing of the Federal Reserve. Those, I think, were some darker days than Amy Coney Barrett, by all means very qualified and sweet woman that, it seems to live a very pure and good life. Yeah, but those dark days with those good people. I mean, God. I've never believed that whole lizard, that whole lizard people thing, but when I mean, of course, this is a joke, by the way. Never believed the whole lizard, the conspiracy of the lizard people. But when I saw that picture of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer standing there in front of the American flags giving their speech, I was like, haha, those people might be lizards. Not really, don't believe that, but still, there's something grotesquely creepy about them. So, the Senate GOP is thwarting the will of the people and confirming a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court in the middle of the presidential election. Yet, I repeat myself, not thwarting the will of the American people. Most people wanted it. Congress will have to reverse the damage of a radical Republican court and defend pre-existing condition protections together with every other benefit and protection of the Affordable Care Act, Pelosi said. They'll have to reverse the damage of a radical Republican court? You mean constitutional originalists and textualists? The ones that actually like the Constitution? That's radical? Seems to me that trying to court pack and change the rules to reverse what has happened under the constitutional processes seems a little bit more radical. A little bit more radical to me. And also, radical Republican court, we've already had Gorsuch side with the left in terms of, like, trans protections or something like that, and we've had Kavanaugh side with the left once or twice already. This is not a radical Republican court. In fact, there's nobody can rely... Let me find the best way to say this. The leftist appointees can always rely on, the Democrats can always rely on their appointees to rule in leftist favor far more than any Republican nominees to rule in the right's favor. They don't see that. Or, I mean, I'm sure they see that, but they don't want you to see that. They don't want the public to see that. Because it would make all this stilted rhetoric seem as ridiculous to everyone else as it does to you and me. But... anyways, we've got another news story here. Now that we're moving on from Amy Coney Barrett, we have Kieth Raniere, the founder of cult-like sex group NXIVM, was just sentenced to 120 years in prison, and good riddance. So, from Albany, New York, NXIVM founder Kieth Raniere was sentenced Tuesday to 120 years in prison for his role in leading a criminal enterprise that included a cult-like sorority where women were sexually exploited and branded with his initials. And that is Kieth Raniere right there. Very creepy person. Very, very creepy person. And the story's a little old. So most of you guys know what NXIVM was. It was kind of a... It was a sex cult, essentially, that all kinds of people... let's see, just right here. For more than 15 years, Raniere led the Albany, New York company he founded, NXIVM, which was a purported self-help organization whose participants paid thousands of dollars for various classes and coursework, but prosecutors allege NXIVM was actually a criminal enterprise whose members viewed Raniere as an all-knowing guru and called him the Vanguard. And prosecutors were seeking a life sentence for Raniere. And after a wild 6-week trial where jurors, I hate saying that word. What was that show? I think it was 30 Rock. where they had a TV show called The Rural Juror. Very hard to say. Heard explicit testimony about his polygamous sexual preferences and the many ways he manipulated his devoted followers into performing sex acts or forced labor. And so, little overview of it. At the trial last year, prosecutors played audio recordings and displayed emails that showed Raniere secretly led a NXIVM subgroup known as DOS, an all-female organization whose members were known as slaves, who reported to masters and were required to give up nude photos and compromising information as collateral. The slaves were branded in the pubic area with a logo containing Raniere's initials, while some were ordered to follow low-calorie diets as they were groomed for sex with Raniere, who was secretly the organization's top master. Well, I think Raniere is going to have himself a 120 years to play a little game of role reversal with big old Bubba in the jailhouse. I don't think he is going to be treated too kindly when he goes to jail, as typically sex offenders, and especially child sex offenders, never do. And so, while they haven't said anything about child sex offense, well, look at this right here. Jurors convicted Raniere of forced labor conspiracy, wire fraud conspiracy, sex trafficking and racketeering charges, which included underlying acts of child pornography possession, identity theft, and child sexual exploitation, among others. And we know, we heard a while back that, and there's one of the brands right there, that NXIVM ran, like, preschools or kindergartens in Mexico or in South America. And we found out more and more about some of these child trafficking rings, that they use the third world as a place where they could just pluck up children because no one will ever know. You know, what are they going to do? They're going to go and complain to authorities, and it's not going to make any world news. So they go to these poor countries, and they go there on these humanitarian missions. I mean, think Haiti, and after the earthquake there, when the Clinton Foundation went out there, somehow got like $500 million, or no, I think it was more than that. I think it might have been $500 billion. I don't know. They got tons of money and built 6 houses and then left, and a whole bunch of Haitian children went missing in the wake of Hillary Clinton's things. We had that Laura Silsby woman who got caught trying to traffic 33 children out of Haiti and into the Dominican Republic, and who was there to help them or help her? The Clintons. And I think even the attorney that she hired was a convicted sex offender, child sex offender. So, at the trial, prosecutors detailed how Raniere possessed sexually explicit photographs of a 15-year-old follower and accused him of effectively keeping her sister imprisoned in her own room for nearly 2 years for showing interest in another man. A 15-year-old follower. That's disgusting. That is disgusting, and that is abusive. And he deserves everything that he gets when he goes to prison. You will find no sympathy from me. So, jurors also heard from a one-time slave who was told to strip naked and was blindfolded. Another woman was then told to perform sex act on her as Raniere watched, and the scene was videotaped. NXIVM built up a series of influential followers, including Claire Bronfman, a wealthy heiress to the Seagram's liquor fortune, who bankrolled many of Raniere's efforts and lawsuits against detractors, and Allison Mack, an actress best known for her role as Chloe Sullivan in CW's Smallville. Bronfman and Mack were among a handful of NXIVM leaders who pleaded guilty to crimes connected to the organization. Bronfman was sentenced to 6 3/4 years in prison, while Mack is awaiting sentencing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call female privilege. You know, if the left wants to run all of this patriarchal privilege, white privilege, all of that privilege, I think Kieth Raniere getting 120 years, and Claire Bronfman, who funded the entire thing and made it possible to all happen, only gets 6 years and 9 months. I think that is a clear example of female privilege. But we have other news stories coming out about, child trafficking, and good news on that front. where we have more than 150 children and women rescued in an Ohio sex trafficking raids. And if the Donald Trump presidency and his attack on these human trafficking rings have taught us anything, it's that we had no idea how massive these human trafficking rings actually were and how much of an economy they are. A disgusting economy. We're seeing reports of this all the time, of hundreds of children and women being saved from sex trafficking. I never knew that this was this big of a deal, and you have to wonder how much of our political establishment was covering this up and are potentially engaged in it, as we're also finding out from the Hunter Biden stuff that's going on, and more on Hunter Biden in a minute. So we have authorities announced the rescue of more than 100 human trafficking victims, including 45 children, as part of a large operation in Ohio. The raids and enforcement actions also led to the arrest of 157 adults seeking sex with the victims. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people engaged in this stuff. And I don't think we ever had any idea that there was either such a supply or such a demand for this. And it's disturbing. And it really peers into the darkness of the human soul. How evil some people could be. More than 50 law enforcement agencies took part in Operation Autumn Hope, a statewide effort to tackle sex trafficking. Authorities focused on rescuing human trafficking victims, exploited children, and arresting men seeking to buy sex with the victims. 157. That is a lot. As a result of the operation, U.S. Marshals rescued 45 children. Ohio authorities gave another 109 victims over to social service agencies for appropriate help. So, round of applause to the U.S. Marshals. They are out there doing the Lord's work, because they were also the ones that rescued a whole bunch of children in another operation down in Georgia recently. So the operation yielded the arrest of 22 men who were seeking sex with minors. Another 157 would be John. Okay, yeah, so I already said that. But speaking of shining a light on all of this, Twitter has finally banned promoting or normalizing sexual attraction to minors. It took them this long, after all the other things that they have banned, after all of the political discourse that they have banned, after all of the normal political views that they have banned, they have finally gotten around to banning sexual attraction for minors. And I'm not somebody who thinks that we should ban much in terms of speech on Twitter. But when you're talking about things that are directly tied to a criminal action any way you put it, I think that's pretty clear cut. That should be one of the exceptions where, no, we don't talk about this. You know, this isn't a political viewpoint, wanting to do disgusting things with children. This isn't a conversation. This is people being able to normalize criminal activity that abuses little children and being able to freely normalize those fantasies as well, which is disgusting. Disgusting. And so, Jack Dorsey here, I mean, this guy is a total piece of shit. So, social media platform Twitter recently updated its policies on child sexual exploitation, quietly adding that it was no longer acceptable to promote or normalize sexual attraction to minors. Gee, took you long enough, Twitter. So, Breitbart news reporter Alum Bakari wrote in 2019 that Twitter's official policies on child exploitation permitted the discussion of sexual attraction to minors, writing, in the past week alone, and this is in 2019, in the past week alone, it was reported that Twitter has suspended journalist Andy Ngo for tweeting inconvenient facts about the purported epidemic of transgender deaths, and undercover journalism organization Project Veritas from running recruitment ads. But if you're a pedophile who wants to discuss your attraction to minors, Twitter's just fine with that. Big League Politics discovered a little-noticed, quietly enacted Twitter rule change from March, which said discussions related to child sexual exploitation as a phenomenon or attraction towards minors are permitted, provided they don't promote or glorify child sexual exploitation in any way. How does that work? How does that work? How do you discuss attraction towards minors without glorifying the exploitation of those minors? That doesn't seem to make any sense. So if you post politically inconvenient yet accurate statistical facts as noted, you get suspended. But if you discuss attraction towards minors, Twitter explicitly allows it. And so now Twitter's sexual exploitation policy page, which outlines, or Twitter's child sexual exploitation page, which outlines the company's official policy as of October 2020, states that the normalization of attractions to minors is no longer permitted on the platform. The policy states that the following is not permitted. Visual depictions of a child, yeah, that's child porn. Of course that shouldn't be permitted. That's criminal. Illustrated, computer-generated, or other forms of realistic depictions of a human child. Yeah, that's like, I don't know whether that falls under child porn directly, but it's not even adjacent. It would be like a duplex where they're connected rooms, you know, connected buildings there. There's no gap between that, really. Sexualized commentaries about or directed at a known or unknown minor, of course, and links to third-party sites that host child exploitation material. Yeah, because that's just, you're still promoting it. If you're sending people to links. And I've heard that this has been a problem on Twitter for a long time, of people sharing child pornography and nothing was done with it. But if you mention that grand right-wing conspiracy theory that I dare not say by name lest YouTube ban me for it, because they're banning everybody who talks about it. You know, it starts with a letter of the alphabet, the 17th letter of the alphabet. Then you're banned. But for a long time they're banning those people, and those people are mostly fighting against this stuff. Those people are mostly are calling out this stuff. So they were banning the people who were calling out the exploitation of children while allowing the exploitation of children to go on unchecked on their platform. I think there needs to be some sort of legal inquiry into this, and people like Jack Dorsey need to be legally held accountable for it. The fact that it took this damn long, that doesn't change. You know, you could say, oh, I was a bank robber for 7 years, but I no longer rob banks. You still committed the crimes. And I'm pretty sure changing the policy shouldn't shield them from the crimes they've already committed and allowing this to happen while banning political speech. So further down the list, Twitter notes that another banned behavior was promoting or normalizing sexual attractions to minors as a form of identity or sexual orientation. Yeah, because that has been the big push. And I'm old enough to remember when the right was worried about the slippery slope of normalizing homosexuality and gay marriage and saying, well, what's next? Pedophilia? And we were mocked roundly for it. Yet it seems to be that the left has been pushing for the normalization of pedophilia for a long time now, or ever since. I mean, it was the moment the gay marriage passed, all of a sudden it was, all right, trans, and then it was child drag queens. Yeah, and then they said, oh, there's nothing sexual about a drag queen. There's nothing sexual about a 10 or 11-year-old Desmond is Amazing going to gay bar and dancing for money. No, there's nothing sexual about that at all, huh? These people think we're stupid. These people are disgusting, and they think that they can just give out these lazy explanations for why what they're doing is not bad, and we'll just say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because no, it fucking doesn't. And speaking of, you know, we've heard a lot of stuff about Hunter Biden or that kind of thing with the exploitation of children and underage. We've heard about that kind of stuff. We have more news on the Hunter Biden front. I know that wasn't a very clean transition, but whatever. I'm still getting used to doing these long form videos, so whatever. So from the Daily Caller, Hunter Biden group touted Joe Biden in investment pitch to Chinese firm. So For all of the talk about Joe Biden not being involved in all of this, he is at the center of it. So in 2017, Hunter Biden and a group of business partners seeking a $10 million investment deal with a Chinese energy firm touted Joe Biden's friendly relations with Colombia's president in their sales proposal, which suggested a series of oil investments in the South American country, according to documents obtained by the Daily Caller News Foundation. Hunter Biden and 4 other businessmen, including Uncle James Biden, highlighted in the former vice president's positive relationship with Juan Manuel Santos on May 15, 2017 investment outline for CEFC China Energy, a Chinese energy conglomerate. The report is part of a trove of records held by Tony Bobulinski, a California-based businessman who is part of the consortium with Hunter Biden, James Biden, and 2 other partners. Bobulinski has provided the documents to a Senate committee investigating Hunter Biden's business dealings. He said at a press conference last week that the records show that the Bidens aggressively leveraged their family name to secure foreign business deals. Now, I know I'm kind of repeating a lot of what we've all seen and all heard, but it can't be repeated enough because the Democrats continue to lie. The Biden campaign continues to lie and dodge questions. And just, if you ask him about it, if you ask Joe Biden about it, he just retaliates and says, "Oh, this is what you always do to us Democrats," in reference to the media. Oh, you mean the Democrats who agree with you at like a 95% clip and hate Donald Trump at that rate? No, I don't think so. Bobulinski has also said that he met with Joe and Hunter Biden in early May 2017 to discuss the Chinese deal, and I've covered that in another video as well. But of course, Joe Biden has long denied discussing business with his son. The investment outline, which was marked sensitive and confidential, mapped out prospective investment opportunities for CEFC China Energy in Oman, Romania, and Luxembourg and Colombia. So they're international. This is an international crime family at this point with the Bidens. And Tony Bobulinski, I believe, was just on interviewed by Tucker Carlson tonight, and a buddy of mine sent me a really short clip, and it was right as I was about to start filming this. I was just about to start filming this when he sent it to me, so I didn't have time to source it and work it into the show. I likely will on the next video. But apparently Bobulinski was part of naval intelligence and had Q security clearance, which is, you know, the mythology of that 17th letter in American culture these days. I'm just wondering what kind of significance that has. If Bobulinski was really that high up. And maybe Bobulinski was a plant. Maybe he was sent in there to try to take down the Bidens. I have no idea. I think we need to find out more about this. Right now, it's all speculation. Nobody really knows, but I think we are going to continue to see more and more information come out. Now, another thing that I think is particularly interesting about this whole Biden crime family thing is that Hunter Biden doesn't really seem to be involved until the last, like, 8 years or so. I think there's been a couple documents from, like, 2008 or something, some things that he had done. But it didn't really seem to ramp up until around 2013, 2014, which would kind of line up with when Beau Biden had brain cancer. And they started to understand that Beau Biden was not going to survive. And it seems to be that Beau Biden was being groomed to essentially be the head of this crime family. And when he died, that threw an entire wrench into it, and they essentially had to say, all right, Hunter Biden, we're going to have to bring Hunter into this, the mess that he is. I don't think Hunter Biden wanted any of this. Now, this is not to say that Hunter Biden is a good person or that he's innocent of crimes. Not at all. Not at all. He seems like an absolute disaster. But I think he also would have just been happy to spend the rest of his life doing blow and banging hookers. You know, and just staying out of all this Biden business stuff. You know, I don't have a whole lot of information on that. This is just me speculating and thinking, you know, what might be going on with all that, because it's really hard to tell. But Bobulinski said last week that he was unaware of the Biden's side deal with CEFC China Energy. He said he sent James Biden a text message on September 24th accusing him and his nephew Hunter of lying about the partnership with CEFC. So you see, these are text messages that Bobulinski sent to Jim Biden, who is Joe Biden's brother. Hope you and family are well, safe, and healthy. You can imagine my shock when reading the report yesterday put out by the Senate committee. The fact that you and Hunter Biden were lying to Rob, James, and I while accepting $5 million from CEFC is infuriating and so disappointing based on the years of work that James, Rob, and team invested into getting things done. Looks like they are looking under every rock relative to CEFC and Dong. I have gotten calls and just not responded. I guess that was the response I expected. I guess that wasn't the response I expected, but so be it. I don't want to get pulled into that mess or anything near it. Good luck. Oh, and congrats on Joe's nomination. I'm sure it was a ton of work and family team effort. I think that's kind of a sly, backhanded remark that he's calling the Bidens corrupt there. And I don't know exactly what, with Bob Ulinsky, I don't have enough information to really try to paint a picture. And, when I do speculate, I try to be clear that it's just speculation and just my thoughts and working through some theories that I might have. But Bob Ulinsky disputed Joe Biden's longstanding denial that he had ever discussed business with his son. I have heard Joe Biden say he's never discussed business with Hunter. That is false, Bob Ulinsky said at a press conference on Thursday. I have firsthand knowledge about this because I directly dealt with the Biden family, including Joe Biden. And this just goes to show that the Bidens are entirely corrupt. They have no problem selling out American interests to foreign countries. And all of this stuff that's been going on with Hunter, about the sex tapes and all that kind of stuff, it's not really about the sex and the drugs. I don't really care. I don't care about that stuff. Live your life, be a human, whatever. But the fact that it's tied up with all these business dealings with other countries while politics is involved, it does lend to blackmail. It does lend to blackmail. And that's how we already know through the whole Epstein saga that blackmail is how a lot of these people are controlled. What we don't want is a controlled representation in our government. We don't want our representation controlled by foreign sources, by foreign partnerships. That's not good. But fortunately, we have here Republicans and their ongoing effort to maintain that they do actually have a spine. Republican senators want special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden. Now, I want a special counsel to investigate where is Hunter Biden. Again, pure speculation, but I got a feeling Hunter Biden is now among the dearly departed. I think he might be sleeping with, the question is, what body of water is he sharing with fish? Because Hunter Biden has been entirely absent. I mean, we have no idea where this guy is. And it seems to me, this is just my guess, but we've heard about that one Chinese, we'll hear about it in a minute. His partnership and his partner in CEFC, one of the richest men in the world, is a Chinese billionaire who just went missing and is likely, I think it was Rudy Giuliani said he was likely at the bottom of the Yangtze River or whatever river that is in China. Whether Joe Biden is now, Hunter Biden is now down there with him. So an increasing amount of Republican senators say Attorney General William Barr should appoint a special counsel to investigate allegations surrounding business dealings by Hunter Biden. Tony Bob Ulinsky, ex-business partner of Hunter Biden. Okay, we already know about that. That he was going to be turning over 3 cell phones to the FBI, and they've been looking through all that. So Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn, member of the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's leadership team, told the Washington Examiner, "Well, I'm not a big fan of special counsels, but I'm worried if Trump loses the election, then that will be just swept under the rug." Exactly. And that's the thing about a special election is it runs independently, or not special elections, special counsels is they run independently. So, Senator Ron Johnson also said, "I'm not a fan of special counsels. In this case, it might be the only solution to make sure that we finally get to the bottom of this," Johnson told the Washington Examiner. Again, it all depends on the election result, but that might be appropriate in this situation. Yeah, it is going to depend on the election results, because I can guarantee you, if Biden wins this, all of this is going away. They're just going to sweep it under the rug and say nothing to see here, and they're going to continue the narrative that it was all Russian disinformation to begin with, which we know is an absolute, outright, abject lie. I know, Democrats lying. Color me shocked. So, Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley told the Washington Examiner a special counsel could be necessary. So, a lot of this is the same thing. You know, they're saying that it might be necessary just to get to the bottom of all this. Because, like I said, it is going to go away if Trump loses this election, which I don't know how Trump is going to lose the election, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I certainly think it should be investigated, and I think a special counsel may be warranted, Hawley said. My bottom line is I think the investigation needs to continue uninterrupted. So if it takes a special counsel to do that, then I'd be for it. And you know what? I'm all for it just for the fact of give the Democrats a taste of their own medicine. We had to deal with 2.5 years of a special counsel with Robert Mueller and a sham investigation. This one does not seem so shammy, but I think we should definitely look into this and make sure that it does not go away and that the results are given to the American people. Not all Republican senators think a special counsel is warranted, though, arguing a Justice Department investigation would suffice. I don't think a Justice Department investigation would suffice because look at the Durham report. That has not sufficed so far. We have all been expecting indictments and have not gotten any. And we are now wondering whether any will come. And at this point, people's patience are running thin, including President Trump. I mean, he tweeted a meme of Christopher Farley like yelling at Chris Farley yelling at Bill Barr, saying, "Oh, for the love of God, arrest someone." And you know, how much more information do they need? You know, it's starting to seem like the Department of Justice and the FBI especially, they have been so infiltrated by this corruption. And I'm not saying Bill Barr is part of that, but at this point, because we haven't seen any indictments, I can't say that he isn't. So, we'll see. We'll see, but I don't think a DOJ or FBI investigation is going to be enough. But Chuck Grassley here says, I think we've got enough proof of everything that's bad that they've done, and I think that we need what we need is the FBI and the Department of Justice to do their job. Yeah, but we can't count on them to do that. We can't count on them to do their job, and I don't think we do have proof of everything bad they've done. I think we've just started to scratch the surface, and I think we need to find out what everything actually entails. So, Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio, chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, told the Washington Examiner it's still premature to reach any conclusions on any of that. Obviously, authorities are looking at the material, and that depends on what they find. Again, I'm not a big fan of Marco Rubio. I think he's a little bit of a squish, and so I am not very happy with that response. But we also have here new audio. So this is from Hunter Biden, his audio confessing his partnership with a China spy chief, and Joe Biden was named as a witness in the SDNY criminal case. So Hunter Biden audio exclusively obtained by the National Post reveals Hunter discussing business dealings with a spy chief of China and how his felon business partner Devin Archer named him and Joe Biden as witnesses in an SDNY criminal case. Now I'm not going to read this, I'm just going to play the audio for you guys, and that will, so you can hear for yourself Hunter Biden actually talking about this.
I get calls from my father to tell me that the New York Times is calling, but my old partner Eric, who literally has done me harm for I don't know how long, is the one taking the calls because my father will not stop sending the calls to Eric. I have another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of literally, Dr. Patrick Coe, the fucking spy chief of China, who started the company that my partner, who was worth $323 billion, founded, and is now missing. The richest man in the world is missing, who was my partner. He was missing since I last saw him in his $58 million apartment and signed a $4 billion deal to build the fucking largest fucking LNG port in the world. And I am receiving calls from the Southern District of New York, from the U.S. Attorney himself. My best friend in business, Devin, has named me as a witness without telling me.
So, it looks like he was actually involved with Chinese spy chiefs, and I don't think I realized how rich his business partner actually was. The richest man in the world, apparently. I don't know. I thought that was Jeff Bezos, but maybe we don't actually know. Maybe we don't actually know. But all of this has to be incredibly damaging to Joe Biden, and if it's not, we have the media to blame for that. But we have a lot coming out now that shows that support for Trump may be much, much larger than we ever imagined. So last week we got the news that 50 Cent was endorsing Donald Trump. Well, there is now another rapper coming out. Rapper Lil Pump endorses Donald Trump over Biden tax plan. And I've heard of Lil Pump. I've never heard any of his music. I don't know anything about him, really. It's not really my kind of... I like rap. It's not really this kind of rap. I think he's one of like the mumble rappers and that kind of thing. So not really my thing, but Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's wild tax plan has gotten the attention of more than just rapper 50 Cent. It seems rapper Lil Pump is also miffed enough by the possibility of getting taxed 62% that he has endorsed President Trump for re-election. In a post on Instagram Monday, the Gucci Gang artist shared a Photoshop picture of himself shaking hands with Trump. The day I met Trump, 2022, but I don't know. I don't know that this guy is really, in an explicit video, Lil Pump scolded Biden for his tax plan as he gleefully said, "Trump 2020, bitch. All I gotta say is Trump 2020, bitch." He said, "Fuck I look like paying an extra 33 is tax for Biden. Bitch ass N-word. Fuck sleepy Joe Biden. Trump 2020. I mean, I saw the video. I don't think they're going to show it on here. No, they don't show it in this article. I couldn't help but laugh because he was so exuberant about actually supporting Trump. But if it was just about the tax plan, I don't think he would have been like, fuck Sleepy Joe, and he would have been all Trump 2020, bitch. He wouldn't have been so emphatically for Trump, I don't think. He would have said, probably would have said something along the lines like, I ain't paying that tax, so I'm going to vote for Trump. But, it would have been something along those lines. But it seems like he is just really all in for Trump. I mean, with how excited he seemed to be. And like I said, I saw the Instagram video. Unfortunately, they don't have it on here. As a side note, the rapper's endorsement of the president generated such a backlash on social media that his record label, who cares? Who cares? It's so funny. It's good to see that we have these, rappers and people in the culture coming out and not caring about the backlash, because at the end of the day, they're getting backlash from the establishment. I mean, it's all the establishment. Where is the punk rock anymore? And it looks like in the rap game is where the punk rock is finally starting to come back, where they're saying, middle fingers to the establishment, and we're going to vote for Trump. We don't care what you say. And so his label, a.k.a. his handlers, are trying to backtrack on that. But I think it's a little too late for that. But we have been seeing support for Trump has just been blowing through the roof. I mean, absolutely astronomical. And we're even seeing, from Breitbart here, there's a Trump caravan rolls down the Jerusalem-Tel Aviv highway in Israel. I mean, even in Israel, foreign countries. So, let's see. Right now on Jerusalem-Tel Aviv highway, a pro-Trump vehicle parade with dozens of cars stretching quite a few miles. Quite a few miles. I mean, just miles of Trump cars. And let's take a look at this.
Okay, vehicle convoy pro-Trump. It's been happening for a few miles now on the Tel Aviv-Jerusalem highway. It says Trump in Hebrew. It says we have to thank Trump. Here they are in taxis. Trump in Hebrew. We have to thank Trump. Trump flags alongside.
I mean, you just see all those flags waving in the distance there in Israel. And I mean, we've seen these happening in we've seen these Trump car rallies happening in New York City. It was like 300 cars came out in New York City, all supporting Donald Trump. New York City, which is supposed to be one of the biggest liberal strongholds in the country. But it's not just Donald Trump. We actually have here hundreds turn out to see First Lady Melania Trump. And we can see here, Melania Trump thanked the crowd for their love and support after her family came down with COVID-19. Melania Trump ripped Democrats for pushing a sham impeachment while COVID was spreading around the globe. Exactly. And so this is the line at the Melania Trump event in Glenchester County. So, at Glenchester County. Okay, so her first solo campaign appearance this year. People showing up for the First Lady. That's not even Trump himself. And, you know, we got a picture. I guess they had it in a barn. So First Lady Melania Trump is set to deliver her first solo remarks on the trail this cycle inside a barn in Atglen, Pennsylvania this afternoon. There were about 200 people there per reporters at the event. During the program, attendees were encouraged to wear masks and socially distant. Sure. But it's not even just Melania Trump. Ivanka Trump was holding a rally. Massive line for Ivanka Trump's campaign rally in Sarasota, Florida. Look at that. You can't even see where it ends. It wraps all the way back there. All the way back. All these people there to see Ivanka Trump, the daughter. I mean, let's say, so they got a video here from Pam Bondi. Massive line for Ivanka's event in Sarasota. Wow! Look at this. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. This is the line to get into the event. Hope they brought their lawn chairs. Wow. And they still haven't gotten to the end. Still haven't gotten to the end. And that's for Ivanka Trump. And now, here in LA, every Saturday, these are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The Beverly Hills Goes MAGA as thousands of Trump supporters rally. I mean, this is insane. Here in LA, another place that is supposed to be a massive, massive leftist stronghold. And I live here in LA. So, seeing this, I'm sure they're gonna be having another one this Saturday, and I am going to be there. I am going to be there. So I'm gonna be down at the rally next Saturday. It's right before the election. It's gotta be massive. It's gonna be so much fun, and there are so many videos here. I'm gonna play a few of these videos. So if you get bored by watching people having a good time, then sorry, but I'm gonna play some of these videos of these rallies. So let's see here. Oh wait, no, that was a different one. That wasn't it right there. So let's see. Okay, so we got some pictures. We got some pictures from the rallies here. Just all the red, white, and blue. Wait, they're repeating. All right, so Beverly Hills, total pro-Trump takeover of the intersection at Rodeo Drive and Dayton Way. This is a party. This just looks fun. And look at that. It's people, all black people, white people, Hispanic people, everybody's out there showing up. This is awesome. This is awesome. I love seeing this. We got more. Beverly Hills Trump rally is insane today. Haven't even walked inside the Garden Park yet, so they're not even inside yet. All the people honking seem to be supporting them. Yeah, I gotta be there this Saturday. I gotta be there. I mean, it's just, it doesn't end. It doesn't end. and I guess there was a dance party starting. So this Beverly Hills sign at 2 to 8 p.m. every Saturday. So this has been going on for a while now, and you just see. This is a Trump rally. I mean, these people are just having a blast, just out there loving America, loving the country, out there showing their support for Trump. We never expected anything like this. I never expected to see this, especially here in Los Angeles. Oh, it looks like you got cops there dancing. Oh no, it's not a cop. Sorry, it's somebody. It's an American flag. I thought I saw the gold trim, and I thought it was a cop. No, it's just a black dude in an American flag. See, people of all types. People of all types are coming out and showing their support for Trump. It's insane. And I don't see any pathway to Biden winning if Trump is really getting this support from the black community, from the Hispanic community. And it's just nuts. It's nuts. And especially when you look at what Joe Biden is pulling at his rallies. Well, let's see a few more pictures here of the rally, because this is just fun to watch. These people are loving it. These people are loving it. This to me does not look like the neo-Nazi rally that the left would try to paint this as. I mean, this is just a bunch of people who love America, partying and having a good time together. Meanwhile, what do you get on the left? You get all these screeching banshees who are screaming about how unfair and hateful everybody is. And this is what's happening on the Trump side. This is what's happening. Just good old times, smiling faces, just having a damn blast. And I love to see it. Look at this. Look at this. All right, well, y'all know where to find me this Saturday. I'm going to be in Beverly Hills at the Trump rallies. And I don't feel uncomfortable saying that out loud because, come and get me in that den of MAGA people. But, you go and you look at what happens at a Joe Biden rally. At a Joe Biden rally, we see here. This is Joe Biden. You got these little circles that single chairs are placed in. And it says, disturbing. Joe Biden looks fragile as he breaks into a jog on his way to the podium in Georgia. Come on, Georgia. Joe Biden traveled to Georgia on Tuesday with 7 days until Election Day. I thought he had called a lid on all appearances right now. I guess you realized that he simply couldn't do that. It appears the media was sitting in a few of the circles. So I guess this is the media over here. And these are the Joe Biden fans. Oh, a lot of empty chairs in that section. A lot of empty chairs in all of these sections. It is pathetic. Pathetic. So, and he apparently broke out into a jog on his way. And, which is... I got commentary on that in a minute, but let's go ahead and watch Joe Biden here as he makes his grand entrance. I think I can count 4 claps. No, that's just one. No, here we go, look. Little jog for like 2 seconds. Can't make up his mind whether that looks good or not. Walks again. Jogs again. Realizes that doesn't look good. And walks again. You're the president. You're not supposed to go out jogging for your crowd. You're supposed to walk out there and make the entrance for them. You're not supposed to run out there and try to break into this awkward jog for like 3 steps, then question yourself on whether that looks presidential or not, start walking again, and then feel the pressure of the crowd waiting for you and break into a jog for another few steps, and then realize, oh yeah, God, this makes me look really weak, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So, I do not understand these polls, how they can be anywhere resembling a close race when all we have to do is look at what is going on in this country and see that it seems that all of the support is for Donald Trump. Now, I mean, sure, you can get on social media and you find a lot of people who talk about, you know, Biden and Kamala and how they're anti-Trump and all this and that, but they're not out in the real world. They're not actually going to events. Trump people are going out to events, which if they're going to put forth the effort to go out to an event, they're going to put forth the effort to go out and vote. If Biden supporters, no matter what they answer in the polls, are not enthused enough to go out to an event to support him, how enthused are they going to be to go out and stand in line to vote for him? So the polls may be the polls, but I think one of the biggest things they're maybe missing in the polling is who's actually going to show up to vote. Because I don't think it's going to be the Democrats. I mean, sure, and they got the mail-in voting, which a lot of that is, you're going to find a lot of people who don't know how to do it, and they're going to be disenfranchised because their vote's not going to count. We see people here in California, they're so worried about COVID, they started spraying down their ballots with disinfectant and smearing them and ruining them. That's just funny, because they're doing that to them damn selves. So, anyways, guys, that's the video. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell, because we all know it's voices like mine that are first to be taken out back in old Yeller by the folks at Big Tech. Also, if you'd like to follow many of those big tech platforms, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Some of the alt-tech platforms, Parler, Minds, and Pill.net, all at Ram Thorburn. Also, if I happen to get booted off of YouTube, which is a high probability at some point, you can find me on Rumble and BitChute, also on those sites. And if you'd like to contribute to the channel, there are links to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and PayPal down in the description below. Though I'm not very happy with Patreon because they recently suspended my account, although I got it reinstated. You know, big tech censorship, they're going to come for us like they always do. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and as always, rev your engines, ride hard, and fight like hell.
Every time who I am.